I might jump an open drawbridge or Tarzan from a vine.
Stuntmen hire their bodies out for pay. Sounds like some creators I know. Let's get the essentials on all things Fall Guy before an honest review of the new Rome action movie. I'm Victor, and straight out of the Gen experience, the high-falling, car-rolling, truck-jumping action adventure of an epic original 80s TV show. Debuting in 1981 and dripping with the cheesy goodness we love, this is the essentials on The Fall Guy. Stick around for the whole show to hear an honest review of the new movie of the same name, where I might reveal a few Easter eggs and some light spoilers, so you've been warned. We're clear to roll, so click that like, press the subscribe, and on with the show. It's 1981, and fresh off the $6 Million Man, an older Lee Majors could use some of those bionics as he stars as experienced stuntman Colt Seavers. Either one of the most badass action star names or bad boy porn star names, depending on your point of view. Colt stunts all day, but is an official bounty hunter at night, taking jobs to find someone on the run, along with his stuntman-in-training cousin Howie and stuntwoman Jody. The Fall Guy was in good company during its 5-year run, as you can see here with his own metal lunchbox along with a bunch of other favorites. An action series balancing thrills and a dash of comedy while solving crimes or mysteries in an hour-long TV series format for prime time. But it couldn't just be about stunt work. Like many in the same genre, it needed its niche, its gimmick. Miami Vice filled the straightforward undercover detective, but the A-Team took down the criminals while running from the military police for crimes they didn't commit. Thomas Magnum was a PI, but took on odd jobs while still being head of security for posh millionaire Robin Masters at his home in Hawaii, and even assisted Jessica Fletcher, who with her gimmick as schoolteacher turned famous mystery writer, solved another one of her hundreds of whodunits. The Fall Guy quickly filled the spot of bounty hunting. Colt would take care of jobs he was hired for while balancing stunt work during the day, more often than not involving his two best buds and leveraging both their experience in stunt work and Hollywood connections to connect the dots on the mystery and apprehend the villains in the end. Lee Majors looked the part, a mature, tough stuntman in Hollywood being used for any and all productions that might also be the catalyst for the plot of that week's show. Farrah Fawcett was now Farrah Fawcett Majors, and not only is she named almost first thing in the show's famous theme song, but Farrah is featured in the first episode. Lee's starring role may have had something to do with getting his wife cast on day one. Along with the beefcake, if you're one who considers Majors a beefcake, as expected there was plenty of cheesecake. The show's leading blonde bombshell was fellow stunt person Jody Banks, as played by the beautiful Heather Thomas. Heather proved fun-loving and effervescent. Her character could pull off the same stunts as her male counterparts, and even one extra stunt the boys couldn't, pulling off that usual 80s stunt where the lead female is required to appear in a bikini or other scant ensemble. The plot somehow worked in as necessary. Maybe that was causing all those neck injuries Jody would complain about during the show. In 5 years, I don't know how many storylines found showcasing so much skin essential, but the writers sure found a way. To much of the audience's appreciation. Classic 80s. Farrah Fawcett had her moment in the sun and your wall with the most famous poster ever sold, but Heather would not be far behind. Fawcett is credited with a certain poster that was the most famous pinup of all time. But Heather Thomas did not just stop at one. You couldn't flip through any store poster rack and not come face to face with the dream girl of so many. 1, 2, or even 3 different images of the top model and actress of the moment were right there. So, where Farrah had one incredibly popular poster, Heather was never not seen doing photo shoots for magazines or poster prints to adorn teenage bedrooms across the world. You can't discuss the essentials of the Fall Guy original TV show without discussing the theme song. Often cited as one of the best TV theme songs of all times in the 80s, it surprises many to know that it was recorded by Lee Majors himself for the run of the series. Actually, it was this song, or a small portion of it written by Dave Somerville of the 50s band The Diamonds, that was used for the 5-minute pitch session to Universal that sold them on filming a pilot for the show in the first place. The Unknown Stuntman is a detailed depiction of the life of those who play starring roles in films while not being credited as the star. Listening to it again the other night, I realized even with Lee Majors' mediocre singing chops, he has some musicality in his performance, making the song too good to care about the quality of Majors' voice. There were others in charge who also thought it was something special, and this song was cut into and sold as a single. Probably the first and only one for Lee Majors. Did any of you have it on 45? Not only catchy and easy to listen to, the words are one of the best storytelling theme songs that we of an earlier generation loved as a way to easily understand the premise of a show when going in for the first time. But in a world of instant gratification and impatience, TV show theme songs, network or streaming, are almost non-existent, replaced instead with a quick lead-in followed by a title card boom and fade out. I miss theme songs and great opening music, don't you? The song may have pitched a show about a stuntman, but it was important to give it its own hook, like A-Team in Magnum P.I. For Lee Majors, fearful of being typecast for his previous role as the $6 Million Man, it was an easy sell. But the network needed more. They needed peril. You can't just do a show about a stuntman. Enter the bounty hunter twist. Lee Majors' Colt Seavers wasn't just a hotshot daredevil on set. He was also, somehow, a skilled tracker. Maybe he was raised by Native Americans. This dual life allowed the show to explore two wildly different worlds. One episode might see Colt leaping from a runaway train down off an exploding bridge, while the next could involve him infiltrating a high society gala to seize an art thief, or even hang from a chopper from dizzying heights to capture his prey. Now that's TV. The cast was rounded out by Colt's cousin, Howie. Just like Jody, the up-and-coming young stuntman would get wrapped up in the shenanigans Seavers is enlisted to take care of. Played by Douglas Barr, who would later join the cast of Designing Women as co-star and love interest to Charlene, Howie is a perfect match for Colt and created the buddy comedy that we didn't know we needed on network TV in the early 80s. Sadly, there is no Howie-like character in the new film, but if it does happen to become a franchise, well, there's always next time, right? Sometimes when you watch something today that you enjoyed as a kid, you notice things, or in this case, people that you were blindsided were part of a show. Watching the opening credits, I was amazed to see Markie Post in a starring role. Yeah, Night Court's Miss Sullivan Markie Post, pre-litigator, starred as Terry Shannon. Sporting that finely coiffed blonde custom woman's version of an upscale mullet she would be famous for on her sitcom, Markie starred in 3 seasons as the bail bondswoman who was Seavers' boss. Well, for the bounty hunter job at least. As this storyline is not part of the film, like Howie, a Terry character is not in the movie. And the film is better for it. The movie is all about the stunts, and they deliver. But hold on, we'll get to that review. With the Fall Guy TV show a success, and the fact that it takes place in the Hollywood industry, it made sense that there would be plenty of guest stars. Some of them played themselves, and other times, actors played characters like everybody else. Hoping to get their big break, or just make appearances to stay relevant, the Fall Guy featured the likes of Lou Ferrigno, LaToya Jackson, the Charlie Daniels Band, Bruce Jenner, The Temptations, David, Keith, and Robert Carradine, Buzz Aldrin, Milton Berle, Delta Burke, Robert Wagner, Linda Evans, Jamie Farr, Herb Villachez, and Elvira. See my Elvira show on this channel for more on that one. We of the Gen Experience and our folks enjoyed the exciting antics of the Fall Guy. The show didn't need to explain the movie that Colt Seavers or the others were even cast in, but feature one wild stunt sequence after another between their work casing a joint or setting a trap for the baddies during their moonlighting as bounty hunters. The show would feature some great fight scenes within a fictional film set or during the action sequences of the plot of the story. The stunts could be basic or blow your mind. You needn't have seen a single episode of the original show, or even heard of it for that matter, to enjoy the new rollicking action film that, like its predecessor, never takes itself too seriously. A compelling story, far-out thrills, and just a touch of camp is enough to make this new movie a success. But if you did watch the original, then more power to you. Today's audiences probably would not give the TV show the time of day. The cheesy 80s formula was pure escapism, with a little skin or tight blue jean covered asses just par for the course. It wasn't deep, and episodic adventures was our thing. We didn't have to be totally invested, as we had other things to do that could cause us to miss an episode or two. We just wanted it to be there to entertain us the next time we were able to catch an episode. We could always be amused all over again in reruns. But critics ran the gamut, as expected, for this purely fun outing. Miami Herald critics said of the show, "The Fall Guy has a shot at being the worst new show of the year. The pilot, which contained no plot but lots of chases and stunts, certainly shows promise." While the Philadelphia Daily wrote, "Lee Majors, the old bionic man, is back with a stupid show that just might turn out to be a hit once they figure out precisely what they want it to be, a comedy or a drama." But you see, that was the magic. Although Lee Majors does tend to have the same stone face while flirting as he does when his plane's going down, the show was an action comedy. It could be both, and was better for it. This is what we wanted. Not all critics had backhanded compliments though. This show may be the biggest small fry hit since Dukes of Hazzard came on, and for more or less the same reasons. It's as lively as all get out, and totally dedicated to simple-minded escapism," said the Fort Worth Star, while the Baltimore Sun also seemed to understand. "The show is well suited to Lee, since it has lots of action and Western clothing. The storyline may be a little formalized, but it does have one major asset, a quirky, offbeat tone that is genuinely appealing."
Stick around. I want you to double them in the love scenes, too.
And I couldn't agree more. It's wildly awe-inspiring stunts that make The Fall Guy so easily translatable to the big screen, like the kinds Burt Reynolds would have done in those crazy car movies. 2024's The Fall Guy is insane with stunts and action that should keep everyone engaged and stuntmen employed. While there is no shortage of thrills in the movie, the sexy innocence of the 80s depicted as harmless flirtation is out, just to keep modern audiences from clutching their pearls. The movie, however, is not without a well-crafted romance, while not skipping a beat in keeping with the spirit of the original. Oh, so to be clear, this is my review. A few Easter eggs and some very light spoilers. Light, but you're warned. So I went into the new Fall Guy movie with high hopes. I knew they couldn't simply redo a 1981 TV show and get away with it. But as the director and star Ryan Gosling stated at the start of the film, this is a love letter to stuntmen. And having that be the base of the action, along with familiar names like Colt Seaver and Jody, not to mention the much-loved 1981 GMC wide-side truck from the original show appearing in the film, The Fall Guy brings it. Fortunately for youngins, it's not set in the 80s. This is not Stranger Things trying to steer us into full-on nostalgia territory. However, the underlying 80s rock soundtrack does give the fans a little homage to an era that not only gave us the best music, but nods to the origins. It clearly takes place in modern times, just simply based on a classic TV show concept, or more accurately, the theme song and the words depicting the life of a stuntman. Blake Sheldon records an incredibly faithful rendition of the theme song during some end credits which showcase making of clips and joyous bloopers. This in itself reinforces the idea that the movie is just meant to be fun, to just get away, to watch, smile, laugh, and gasp at more than a few death-defying stunts. You might think this is on par with a Netflix original, but they could never have gotten away with this many practical physical stunts that weren't AI generated. They just wouldn't have had the budget, and let's be real. Physical stunts are never overshadowed by CGI schlock of today. These are meant for big screen viewing. The plot is straightforward, but is definitely not in the realm of a Scooby-Doo mystery. This is the Fall Guy we're talking about, and the inevitable frame-up required to tie it back to the show's investigative roots and allow for the dual meaning of the title is clear. You know what I mean? Well, those of you who know what taking a fall means will get it. While there are a few twists and turns, the action sequences every other moment keep us grounded, even when during an eclectic and imaginative drug-induced fight scene within some Australian nightclub, complete with a unicorn. Intense colors and sparkle effects enhance the over-the-top brawl while managing to place you within a vibrant trip Ryan Gosling goes on, while lying waste to goons as stardust and speed variations create the most imaginative fight sequence I've seen on film. Right there should sell you on going to the film. The actors' performances are on point. All of them. Ryan, Emily, Winston Duke, Aaron Taylor Johnson, they're all believable in something that sometimes can come across as cartoonish, with gags and subtle comedy that work to keep this movie grounded in just the have fun experience. Emily's Jody is at first a camera operator who makes it big in Hollywood and of course is just one part of the romantic storyline with our new Colt Seavers. The Fall Guy film gets what the critics of the original show didn't. It can be both an action movie and a romance at the same time. And it works because the actors are mature, thank God. They feel like real people that are actually going through something believable. Not infantile or trite storylines being delivered by young Hollywood virgins that wouldn't know an authentic relationship if they were lucky enough to score one online. This is the kind of movie many of us have been waiting for. I was delighted to see that even a strained relationship with a very public hashing out in the film was done efficiently, depicting real humans who just might be in love. But the Romaction movie doesn't let love weigh down the adventure, and they share the responsibility of the film's success effortlessly. The movie might be based on a classic TV show, but there is nothing grounding it in that lore or mythology that can't be altered or manipulated. There is no Fall Guy Bible. The new film shows that Hollywood can make an original story from an unproven franchise, even when its origins are from an existing brand. No need to be Marvel or Planet of the Apes to make it worth seeing at your local cinema. Through it all, a movie within a movie is being filmed. Reminiscent of an epic somewhere between Dune, Mad Max, and Cowboys and Aliens, it's pivotal, but takes a back seat, although it does provide some humor on just how bad it would be in the real world. A favorite Easter egg of mine is the brief but obvious homage to Lee Major's $6 Million Man during a sequence showing Ryan have to push someone away, all while the familiar bionic sound effect is added for comic relief. Now, some of you might find another minimal silly extra interesting that has to do with Colt's much-loved Miami Vice jacket that the character is partial to. A throwaway line alludes to an Easter egg that perhaps is so very universal, and perhaps only fans of Universal Studios might catch. Pay attention to a line regarding our star character's reference to his early stunt work, 6 shows a day, 5 days a week, and the connection to a long-extinct theme park stunt show. That's kind of meta, right? As meta as the final trailer shown at the film's conclusion for the movie within a movie, Metal Storm, along with a fire performance from an extended cameo by a favorite DC action hero. Speaking of cameos, I'm sure by now you are aware of the other major one during the end credits. If not, I'm sure you can guess. The Fall Guy is cheese we all need today. A dose of happiness, a smile, and a little hope in a world where we're all subject to a whole lot of hopelessness in our entertainment and fed up with it in real life. I've been caught saying there is no original ideas in Hollywood anymore, but even borrowing the name of the film and a couple of characters, the Fall Guy movie is more original than any film I've seen in a long time. And the best romantic action movie I've ever seen. Do yourself a favor and run out and see it right now. The video's over, so see it at the cinema, where this movie and you belong. Thank you for joining me for the essentials on The Fall Guy with this honest review of the new film. Please put your own review in the comments along with any memories of the classic TV show. For now, look around the channel for more great videos, and if you haven't, I would surely appreciate you clicking subscribe and even giving the show a like. Thank you for joining me for a little bit more from the Gen Experience. Until next time. Stunts!